Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Propagandacast with me, your host, ImperialDane, and it is evening here in Denmark. But I have gotten 500 subscribers, yes indeed, 500 wonderful, magnificent subscribers, all with great taste. And so it is my honor to do another cast today, as I promised, as I always do once I get 100 subscribers. So here you go. Episode number 2, and I've chosen, another short one, and, one I've played as well, yes indeed, but this time from the viewpoint of the Americans. Yes, just a bit of a different point, and one not fighting against the Panzerlead, as that again seems to be the sort of theme I get in all my replays, which makes it a bit dull, I fear, but nonetheless, yes, here's me, a bit more of self-aggrandizement, I must admit, so if you don't like that, turn away. On the other hand, I suppose it might prove some interesting for somebody else, since of course it won't be something with 4 riflemen BARs right away. Nonetheless, let's have a look at the fight. In the northern corner, we are of course seeing me, Captain Dane of the 3rd Armored Division, ready to crush some krauts, and who shall be opposing me? OneteamCZ. Yes, I have no absolutely idea what that's got to mean, but nonetheless, here he is. 352nd Grenadier Division, ready to try and give me a kicking. And we are of course having a slight match here on Langres, only high yield point right here, nestled between all of these buildings and this bocage. Rather nice position, otherwise this of course tends to be the major hotspot. And in fact, let's get this going, and I apologize again if you're expecting something a bit grander. It is a bit late here, it's 10 in the evening, already a bit tired and all that, so doing my best here. In fact, almost 11. But nonetheless, a promise is a promise, and by Jove, I'll get you again casted. So there we go, 2 engineers, nothing unusual there, and we are seeing the sort of same here from the Wehrmacht commander, 2 pioneers, and the Wehrmacht quarters somewhere in the distance. Well, not really, it depends really on the perspective you're looking at. But here we is, nice and lovely Wehrmacht quarters, tiny bunker. Widerstandneste, or well, not really, doesn't really have much in terms of windows or sort of slits to fire out through, so clearly more of a sort of rear bunker for communications and such purposes. Pioneers moving about, securing territory, going straight for the munitions point, no fuel, rather interesting right from the get-go. I'm of course spreading out, going for both fuel and munitions, not picking either side. Riflemen marching out. And again, sort of quiet, nothing unusual there. The 3rd Armored Division being one of the armored divisions. I don't actually have any count on how many armored divisions that actually fought in Normandy right at my fingertips. Certainly more than there were Panzer divisions facing them for the most part. Of course, any infantry division actually had its own armor components, unlike a grenadier division, which actually didn't really have any armor, and if they did, it was more because they couldn't get anything else, and it was then usually again Stugs. So that was of course a fun bit, again a bit of history there. But the American infantry division would actually have its own armor battalion, Shermans, perhaps even a tank destroyer battalion. Then again, American tank destroyer doctrine actually specified that towed anti-tank guns were actually to be preferred rather than the self-propelled ones like the M10 and M18. Again, I'm not entirely sure why they decided that. The American armor doctrine was a bit curious in general. Pioneers being forced back by a rather nice sneaky ambush here. Volksgrenadiers marching about here, securing this munition point, which isn't quite as valuable as this one. So that is of course fun. Riflemen moving in from the north, 2nd team, ready. Mechanized riflemen of course, since I wouldn't have been non-motorized or mechanized with the armored division, and opening up on these Volksgrenadiers. Same a bit action down here, so engagements into spots. Volksgrenadiers taking a few losses here, down to 2 men in fact, again standing out in the open, trying to take a point. Generally not the best idea, whereas down here Volksgrenadiers with a nice bit of range and a bit of cover are in fact doing decently alright against these riflemen. In fact, they seem to be doing pretty well. In fact, getting some of these riflemen right down quickly. So of course, there you go, a bit of a lesson there in the difference that cover can actually make. So again, remember to use cover if you can. It really makes one hell of a difference. And the single pioneer heroically forces back these two Although they probably will be back with reinforcements to make that Pioneer's life miserable. And engineers sneaking about here. Volksgrenadiers taking this point. But perhaps, yes, indeed, we are seeing the engineers moving in with the grease guns. Perhaps hoping to grease those Volksgrenadiers a bit and get them dead. We'll have to see. Yes, there we go. Volksgrenadiers with low life. And there we go, taking up cover behind a very old car of some sort. Volksgrenadiers taking up cover behind a wooden cart. Not quite the same in protection. Large Volksgrenadier force moving in. In fact, one squad in all. And these engineers will have to get out there, and not really a match for all of these Volksgrenadiers to go down. In fact, one looks to be wounded in the shade of the old van. No old barns on this map. Oh wait, there is. And there. And we are seeing a weapon support center coming up, rather realizing he's having an awful lot of Volksgrenadiers. I rather figure, well, what helps against that? Well, mortars for a start, I suspect. Tend to be rather nice. And of course, heavy machine guns. Thus, I want a weapon support center. And of course, I do believe, spot this bunker right in the distance. Yes, indeed. Which of course also makes it a bit more of a safe bet to perhaps get a mortar to blast that thing out. Riflemen sneaking about in the edges. No movement into here. Rather interesting from the Wehrmacht. These Volksgrenadiers though are standing a bit on their own. Riflemen moving in, hoping to intercept, taking up position in this building, able to get a nice broadside from it. Once more Volksgrenadiers standing out in the open, trying to take a point again. Generally not what you'd call a great idea, in particular if your opponent has automatic weapons, although in this case only semi-automatic, so he is somewhat safe. And assault being used, rather interesting move there, going straight for the blitzkrieg. And going straight for assault, lobbing grenades. Again, Volksgrenadiers apparently having an abundance of grenades, but apparently never using it otherwise except for assault. Which again begs the question, why? Engineers moving in with flamethrowers, scorching some Volksgrenadiers who are standing behind a fence, wooden fence. Light cover also provides some incentives for using a flamethrower. Generally all cover except negative cover. In fact, negative cover protects against flamethrowers. So there you go. But even the slightest cover and that flamethrower is going to be a lot more effective. And there we go. 6 centimeter mortar team on the field, ready to bombard those jerrys. And there we go. Kraut medic heroically pulling back one Volksgrenadier. Could be Klaus, Hans or Deinhard. And a bit of engagement here versus Pioneers and Engineers once more. Just after the Engineers laid down mine. Again, laying down mines is a good spot. Try to predict where your opponent comes from. Like for example here. This seems to be a rather suspected path. Then mines there. Good job. And Volksgrenadier standing out in the open. Nice engagement here. And mortar rounds begin flying in. Getting 2 Volksgrenadiers. Riflemen though are forced to pull back further. Moving in. Mortar opening up. And what is this? These Volksgrenadiers seem awfully aggressive. And there we go. In fact, we are seeing an assault being used. Oh dear. Using a lot of munitions right away. Of course, this also means I won't really have to expect much in mines. But this mortar will have to get out of it. Or apparently just stand a bit farther away. Not entirely sure why. And opens up again. And there we go. A second assault so quickly. Using it on a mortar team. And, well, using such abilities on, for example, a weapons team is actually not a pretty bad idea, since of course they're going to have a lot harder trouble getting away, and as you saw there, can easily clear them up. That was a bit of a mistake on my side, but then again, I do tend to be slightly more on the risky side of things, being bold, trying to take risk, maximize damage, and of course it also maximizes the damage that can be done against me. It's sort of a, you know, win, lose, lose, win, something sort of type. It's risk anyways. And that is, of course, the sort of thing you have to balance. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes you end up handing your opponent your ass on a silver platter. So, of course, be careful with that. Learn how to assess risks. Do you want to do this? Why do you want to do this? And what happens if it goes tits up? So things are to be kept in mind, and apologize for the slightly rude language. Mines being laid down there. Jolly good, jolly good. Volksgrenadiers once more marching out. Rather large amount of Volksgrenadiers and absolutely no support weapons. Instead, just getting veterans for them. Interesting, of course, is also sort of relying on the assault grenades to really pull them through. 2 Volksgrenadier teams, 1 with MP40s now, and the 3rd over there. So really we're seeing a slightly more assault configuration. Of course, Volksgrenadiers were sort of equipped like that. One of the few Wehrmacht forces. In fact, the MP40 wasn't really handed out to everyone, as you might see in movies. It was sort of only to squad leaders and lieutenants, stuff like that. Although after having seen what stuff the Soviets could do, they of course were considering using it in larger numbers. And Volksgrenadier setting a mine again. Jolly good thing to have mines right there in such spots. Although probably wouldn't have expected when they laid it down. And heavy machine gun cutting down several Volksgrenadiers. Hooray, huzzah. And these MP40s, not really good at range, mind you. And now they're coming under fire from the 30 caliber. The fence will provide a bit protection against suppression, but it's not really something you should count on in the long run. This bunker is all nice and ready. Of course, I might soon be moving in that bunker, that mortar team once more. So there we go, slight lull in the fighting. Volksgrenadier is continuing their dastardly harassment and setting up a supply yard, rather figuring I need something slightly bigger. Since I can't continue fighting like this, I need something to sort of gear up the fighting, put up the pressure a bit more, perhaps get a motor pool, perhaps get an armoured car to really keep up the pressure, perhaps get a half-track, perhaps get an anti-tank gun in case it goes for something sneaky like a Puma rush or something like that. Of course, I don't know he's gotten for a Krieg barracks yet, but then again, I have a mortar, and then for the Wehrmacht, well, what do you want to deal with that mortar? Well, why not get one of my own since it has longer range? Yes, indeed. And this Volksgrenadier team taking quite a bit of damage, mind you. The American mortar can in fact do quite a bit of damage to infantry, whereas the Wehrmacht mortar has slightly longer range and is a bit more effective against buildings. So keep that in mind. And MP40 Volksgrenadiers charging across open ground, but being stopped by the 30 caliber right in the tracks, getting suppressed. And now they are certainly in a nasty spot. And there we go, assaulting the 30 caliber. The 30 caliber of course gets out of there. Mortar rounds flying of course. Let's just briefly pause here. What did I do here? I retreated them, and what then happens? The assault ability pretty much becomes a waste of 50 munitions. This is sort of the main weakness of assault. If you for example evacuate a building or retreat, or in some cases fire up and continue running circles around the unit, the ability just doesn't work, and he's effectively wasting 50 munitions. So keep that in mind. If you see that flash above the Volksgrenadiers, retreat, get out of the building or something else, and ta-da, you've just made your opponent waste 50 munitions. And there's nothing quite like it to get him frustrated. And returning to the fight, flamethrowers getting the heat down on them, scorching quite a few Volksgrenadiers. The last one being quite low on health. Veteran Tier 1 of course does help with sort of healing. And we are seeing a motorcycle as well. Perhaps he's expecting me to go for a sniper, since of course he's seeing weapon support units. And of course a lot of people love snipers, and no indeed what is this. I'm being a bit of a rogue here, going straight for the tank depot of course. And this is probably something you should note. You're probably going to see the tank depot now of course a bit more after the pack has been nerfed. A lot more players are feeling more comfortable with the Sherman, and some feel a bit too comfortable with it. We'll of course have to see if that happens to me, if I just get bloody silly. But opening up on the medic bunker of course again. Medic bunkers once spotted are sort of high priority targets for your opponent. And again, I apologize for all this pausing, but again I thought I'd like to point this out in nice quiet moments. And once they are, you generally don't want something else near it, because that means that's going to get hurt as well. Anti-tank guns, heavy machine guns, mortars, infantry, keep it away, otherwise they're going to be caught as well, for example as you saw here. So keep that in mind. Keeping other things away from what you're probably going to guess your opponent is going to designate as a high priority target is a pretty good idea. Again, high priority targets tend to be medic bunkers, medic stations, casualty clearing station, any sort of powerful emplacement, places with perhaps sandbags and barbed wire, anything where you perhaps might feel strong or pleasant. He generally wants to destroy. And there we go, Wehrmacht mortar, Granatenwerfer 43. Rather nice mortar, of course not the only mortar the Wehrmacht had. They in fact also had a sort of lighter mortar, I believe, a bit like the Americans' light mortar, which is the one there. And they actually copied a Soviet design, in fact the 120mm, and designated as their heavy mortar, and in fact used it quite pleasantly. In fact they also just used the Soviet ones they captured. In fact pretty much all on the Axis side copied the design and began to use it, because it was actually a pretty clever design. Funny that. would be fun to see in here, but then again, I'm pretty sure there might be some complaints from some people, so I don't blame them. But Volksgrenadiers opening up with the MP40s, rather nice weapons if you can get close. If you can't, they might not be as helpful. Flamethrowers being equipped further out, mortar getting closer, perhaps might want to get a few shots off at this mortar team. Grenadiers getting all patched up, getting veterans too, always nice to see, always nice. Riflemen also getting ready, engineers getting reinforced. And what is this? M4 Sherman getting ready. My goodness, that's going to be a bit of fun, isn't it? Whew. Certainly getting a bit exhausted already. Already a bit late for me. Then again, I did just also have a rather exhausting match. There you go, and engineer team is lost. Most tragic, and this MG team is taking heavy losses from the German mortar and is cleared out. Oh goodness. But the Sherman continues. Rather suspecting my opponent, of course, haven't seen none armor at all. And there we go, opening up, guns blazing, machine guns blazing as well. Killing a grenadier right in the first shot. Another one down. Heavy machine guns blazing, suppressing the grenadiers. My goodness. And further losses might be incurred before they make out of there. Will that happen? And this spike is not looking too good either. Again, not really the sort of thing you want to fight a Sherman tank. Generally, you want some sort of tank yourself, a Sturk or anti-tank gun, perhaps a Panzerschreck. The bike, not the best choice, if you want my professional opinion. Which I'm sure you do since you're watching this channel. Then again, you might also be just here for my charm and wit. Volksgrenadier securing this western point. All good and dandy, although currently the Wehrmacht strategy has been a bit diffusive. In fact, let's just briefly pause and look over the situation. He's currently in his base. He's rather relying heavily on just hordes of Volksgrenadiers, a bit of grenadiers, but he's not really able to slowly push forward. He's not really gained any ground. He's sort of dug in here, but he's not really been able to push forwards. He's, well, constantly attacking from the same point, although we do see the occasional AG moves from the sides, but there's no real larger attacks, no real coordination, for example, between that mortar and his infantry. No heavy machine guns and no half-tracks, no anything. It seems a bit like he could use something to really push the assaults he's making. Instead, he's not really succeeding. And I'm, of course, just holding him back with a few riflemen, a mortar and a heavy machine gun. And now laying down a medic station, of course, remembering that it might be nice to have one. Rather than continuing out to the west, perhaps hoping to do a bit of good there. And medic station is up. Mortar gets a bit to a safer position, not sure what to expect. And there we go. Volksgrenadiers all equipped with MP40s, though. Seems a bit excessive, a bit putting all your eggs in one basket, hoping your troops can get close, but of course if they don't, they're a bit useless. Marching across here, open ground, lots of automatic fire from all sides. Sherman joining in as well, opening up. Machine guns blazing from all sides. Volksgrenadiers getting suppressed, getting killed as well, and from machine gun fire of all sorts and heavy high explosive shells. Pack slowly inching forward, hoping to get its prey, the Sherman tank. There we go, opening up. Although I don't think it actually hit, but there we go. Second shot actually hits, but I'm moving here, hoping to sort of end this stalemate here, and of course ensure that this pack won't have much to do, and of course ensure that he needs to move it. Also researching grenades, figuring I might want some more firepower for my singular rifleman, and this Volksgrenadier looks like he is not in a happy place, forced to run the gauntlet. Machine gun fire flying all around his ears, and he did not make it, he was lost. Another pack moving in, and he's sort of trying to perhaps make a pack front, which was sort of a German tactic they had by basically listing them all on one front, then putting them under one commander and basically having them fire away at all the same targets. The Soviets then proceeded to copy that strategy. Sort of a lot of things that were actually shared between the two. For example, the Soviets had a sort of massed artillery system. I'm not entirely sure what they called it, but the Germans after some time decided, hey, let's not try doing that as well, and sort of tried to copy it when they made their own Volksgrenadiers divisions. They also made their Volksartillerie batteries, which were, oh dear, that's some heavy losses for these Volksgrenadiers. Looks like another Volksgrenadier team might be lost. Another moves in with MP40s once more. Sherman moves in, opening up. My goodness. engineers ready to support, and these Volksgrenadiers are not looking good. But basically these Volksgrenadier artillery division batteries were basically all sorts of artillery, field cannons, heavy, light, just massed into one battery and supposed to blast things away. Of course, they never could really get the same amount of artillery as the Soviets could. But again, that's one of those fun things you can learn by reading about a bit. That thing, for example, I just learned there from the Victory Was Beyond Their Grasp, a book about the 272nd Volksgrenadier Division. A rather interesting book, really. Taught me a lot about Volksgrenadier divisions in general, but also a bit about German infantry divisions and how their system was actually organized. Stuff like that I really love. And oh dear, laying down barbed wire. Of course, I've got infantry now, realizing perhaps I'm a bit more on the defense, and of course I can have a nice picnic. While doing so, I of course quickly get the devil out of there, since if that had hit while they were laying down barbed wire, I might have been suffering heavy casualties. Sherman, though, moving in, and packs in a nice pack front configuration, or at least one is, opening up, ready to protect the Stu-42. Nice idea there, actually, sort of protecting the advance of its own units. Rather interesting strategy. Trouble is, there's nothing to protect the pack, which is the equivalent of a very bad thing. Again, it's a support unit, and you want your support units protected, otherwise they're going to be easy targets. And of course you're going to see something like this, although he was lucky, a bit lucky there. But of course now the Stu-42 has to turn its side to the Sherman, making it more vulnerable. What does the Stu-42? It makes a U-turn behind the house, further toward my lines, and of course out of the range of its own pack. That's what you call moving in the wrong direction, and I fear that Stu-42 shall be lost for it. Poor Sturmhaubitze, which was part of a sort of attempt at giving some sort of close, heavy support, artillery support for German infantry divisions, and mechanized and so on, for clearing up buildings, obstinate positions. There was also sort of one equipped with a larger gun. I can't remember the name. Sturminfanteriegeschütz 33B or something like that. And there was later on the Sturmpanzer 4, also known as the Brummbär. And there was of course later on the Sturmtiger, which was quite frankly excessive. It fired a 300mm rocket, which could pretty much level anything it hit. Grenadiers marching forwards, though. Might hit a mine. My goodness, those are some of the most luckiest Grenadiers I've seen. But again, making a sort of bad move here. Dual Panzerschrecks and getting hit by a grenade. Sherman opening up, and these Grenadiers are not looking happy. 30 caliber opening up. Opening up with dual Panzerschreck salvo there. But again, note, they aren't going to be really much help against infantry. Volksgrenadiers taking heavy losses to the Sherman, gaining veterancy too, meaning increased penetration, and that is something you can pretty much count on for all American armor units. Basically, veterancy goes like this: speed, penetration, and damage. And my goodness, that was a bit of luck there. Rifleman team getting ready just as the medic station was finished, and there we go. One of the other reasons you don't want two Panzerschrecks from one team. Panzerschrecks being left behind. That's going to be more likely to happen. And this is actually a bit of a dumb move on my behalf. I had forgotten about a rally point right there, as you might notice. So I of course had forgotten about that Sherman, which was just into enemy lines, and this is absolute sheer dumb luck that it got out of there. Not strategy, not tactics, sheer dumb luck, and I won't deny it. So of course, remember your rally points. If you want something to happen there to get quickly, of course it's nice, but remember to set it back to something safer, otherwise it's going to end up biting you in the ass, just as it was very, very, very close to doing there. Bad Dane. Thankfully, it wasn't with the Wehrmacht though. And another Stu-42, but nothing really heavy and artillery infantry support. No Stug, which might actually have been able to take on that Sherman actually in a much better state. And now he's just spreading out his infantry, feeding it to me piecemeal. In fact, he seems to have given up. He's not really doing anything. His mortars are in the defensive position. Packs are as well. Everything isn't actually. And he barely has any infantry, which is a bit of a problem. He hasn't bothered trying to perhaps rebuilding that medic station perhaps a bit further away from my lines. And of course now getting artillery. And here he gets lucky because it hits everywhere else but the Grenadiers until they retreat. So much fortunate for him there. And of course German quickly getting repaired. While of course probably cursing my name for being that absolutely stupid. Stu 42 now with veterancy, of course, again getting veterancy 1 for your armor as the Wehrmacht. Absolutely integral. It really can make a huge difference when you get that 25% damage reduction. Trust me on that one. And Stu 42 marches forward. Sherman moves in perhaps to flank a bit. Pack setting up once more. The other one guarding against an assault here. He's perhaps being a bit paranoid. And now the Stu 42 is coming under fire from the Sherman. Second Sherman moving in from the north and upgrading the guns. Again, I'm sort of expecting something a bit, oh, I don't know, more ferocious than the Stu 42. Something a bit more of a threat to my armor, which is currently what's really holding him up. As you may have noticed, it's basically the armor which is tearing apart his infantry. And of course, apparently the only threat are those packs. They aren't quite as powerful as they used to be. And of course, if I get a good mortar shot off, they might be nothing. Blasting away there. Rifleman with a panzer strike up, and my goodness, grenadiers forcing the retreat, and there we go. What did he do there? Which was a mistake. He's left behind his 2 packs. That's what you call a bad move. You don't want your pack again. Support weapons should not be left like that, in particular ones that can't defend against infantry, as they're probably the most vulnerable. So there you go. 2 packs cleared out in seconds. Another Stu 42 hitting the field. Of course, I know he has absolutely no anti-tank assets. Well, what do I call in? Sherman tanks, not Ghostbusters. I'm not dealing with ghosts. And opening up there. Opening up on the Stu 42. There we go. OneteamCZ realizing the 352nd Grenadier Division cannot win, retreats. The 3rd Armored Division scores a victory for Uncle Sam, and I'll probably be having nightmares over this, since of course I betrayed the fatherland. No, not really. It's a game, thankfully. So there you go, a slightly sleepy cast from me. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, why not subscribe or tell your friends? And if you didn't, well, why not send in a replay of your own? And of course, what can we learn from this? Well, of course, infantry is great, but supporting it with something else is even greater. And he'd gone for that, he might have stood a better chance. Perhaps a sniper would really have done wonders for him. Assault is actually pretty good as well. You saw he actually did quite well to get some good shock effects on me. So there you go. I mean, I lost quite a bit in that way, repeatedly, but in the end he also wasted a lot of munitions, and so he wasn't able to keep it up. Other bits, of course, don't rely solely on Stu 42s if your opponent has Germans. That's just a waste of resources. Packs are nice, but they need to be kept together with infantry. He didn't, which in the end minimized their effectiveness, and of course caused them to be blasted to bits. Probably would have been better getting for the Sturm Armory, perhaps getting a naval effort, getting some actual Stuks. Then he might have stood a better chance with those packs and all other things. Sadly, he did not, so there you go. Again, I hope you enjoyed this fight. Cheers.